Okay, so this is Dr. Mark Hitchcock, dispensational futurist. So he is a futurist regarding Bible prophecy. Remember, we talked about the Reformation and how they were all historicists until the Jesuit Counter Reformation had to counter what the reformers were teaching. And one of the ways they did this was by Bible prophecy and writing against the Reformation and coming up with the preterist and the futurist schools of prophetic interpretation. They both preterism and futurism were first systematized by two different Spanish Jesuits, Louis de Alcazar, the founder of the preterist school, and then Francisco Ribera, founder of the Futurist school, and then Robert Bellarmine would later take up the Futurism of Francisco Ribera. These were all Spanish Jesuits, and write a book called The Antichrist, where Robert Bellarmine, the premier Jesuit scholar and writer, if you read Francis Turretin from the 17th century, he mentions Robert Bellarmine all throughout his 3-volume Institutes of Elenctic Theology, because Robert Bellarmine was one of the most able scholars of the Jesuit Roman papal counter Reformation against the Reformation writers and scholars. But here is Dr. Hitchcock. Of course, he's going to take the futurist perspective, and I wanna play this little clip and what he says and see if we can find out where he absolutely just drives the car right off the cliff right here. It's so easy to see once you understand Daniel chapter 7. It's so easy to see where he completely misses the entire boat because of his false system of eschatology. Okay?
The Bible tells us there's going to be several great world empires we're going to rule in succession. One of the great chapters in the Bible, a couple of the great prophetic chapters, Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7. In Daniel chapter 7, you have these four great beasts, and they symbolize the Babylonian Empire, then the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and then the Roman Empire. And then we know those happened in succession, exactly as Daniel said. But that fourth and final empire that represented the Roman Empire is pictured in a stage where it's ruled over by 10 kings, 10 individuals, 10 people. And that's in place whenever Jesus returns. And we know that Rome historically has never been ruled over by 10 kings or 10 people. Mm-hmm. So everything.
All right, so those 10 are, they must be 10 individual kings, 10 individual kings, right? That's what he said, 10 individuals. It can't be 10 lesser tribal kingdoms. It's got to be 10 kings, and these 10 kings will be ruling when Jesus returns, apparently. And so there's got to be some sort of revived Roman Empire. So all this time has passed. So the Roman Empire technically fell in the latter part of the 5th century AD, 476 AD. But since that time, it's just there's a big huge gap of time that just the Bible just doesn't deal with. That's futurism for you, rather than going historically to what happened after the fall of the Roman Empire in 476 AD. So I put the four beasts that rise up out of the sea, and then they compare to the four metal man elements of Daniel chapter 2. So they're parallel prophecies. Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are parallel prophecies. Daniel 7 gives us a little more information than Daniel 2 gave us. In fact, it gives us quite a bit more information than Daniel 2 gave us, because it actually talks about the Antichrist, also known as the little horn. Okay? It's called the little horn in Daniel chapter 7, but we refer to it as the Antichrist. Daniel 2 doesn't have the Antichrist in it at all. Daniel 7 is the first place we are ever going to see any mention of anything called the Antichrist. So in Daniel chapter 7, and I compare it to Daniel 2 here with the head of gold, these metal man elements here are from Daniel 2. These beasts, the lion with eagle's wings, etc., are from Daniel 7. Okay, so Daniel 7 and Daniel 2, I'm comparing them. And he mentioned this: the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, followed by the Grecian Empire, followed by the Roman Empire. And you can look at the dates. I think the dates I have up are pretty accurate. But the Roman Empire comes to an end in 476 AD. So what the dispensational futurists do is they want to insert a big time gap from the fall of the Roman Empire all the way up until the end, the last 7 years, and say, well, there'll be a revived Roman Empire and these 10 kings and all that, 10 individuals and all that. Notice he didn't say any of those 10 kings would be plucked up by the roots, though, before the little horn could arise. He didn't mention that part of Daniel chapter 7 either, did he? No, of course not. But the fact of the matter is the Roman Empire came to an end in 476 AD. Out of the fall of the Roman Empire, these 10 lesser tribal kingdoms they made up the former Roman Empire. These were the 10 horns, or the 10 lesser tribal nations that made up the Roman Empire after its fall in the latter part of the 5th century AD. The Ostrogoths, the Burgundians, the Vandals, the Heruli, the Visigoths, Suevi, Alemanni, Franks, Saxons, and Lombards. I think this is the best list that you're going to find anywhere. But just let me put it out there that in the 18th century, Dr. John Gill, writing from England, Reformed Baptist theologian, scholar, biblical exegete, historicist, writer extraordinaire, he writes this: and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And notice Mark Hitchcock harped on these are 10 individuals. These are 10 individuals. What does John Gill say? No, he says, or 10 kingdoms which sprung out of the Roman Empire, or into which it was broken and divided upon the dissolution of it in about AD 476. Okay, and he gives Meade's list here of the 10, pretty similar to my list that I gave. Lists of Bishop Lloyd and Sir Isaac Newton in his commentary as well. Again, Sir Isaac Newton list is pretty similar to the one that I gave. Okay, although he includes the Huns. The reason I wouldn't include the Huns is because they were a nomadic people. They weren't like a kingdom, but a nomadic. But I could see why people would include the Huns, because they were absolutely devastating to the former Roman Empire. So those are the 10 lesser tribal nations, and then 3 of these 10 would be plucked up by the roots before the little horn could arise. Okay, and then I've gone into this before. What happens to 3 of those roots? Okay, basically it's the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths were uprooted, plucked up by the roots before the little horn, the Antichrist, the papal Antichrist, could arise to power and then continue on for 1260 literal years before receiving a deadly wound in the latter part of the 18th century, a wound which has been healing ever since. Okay, and then we have the rise of the earth beast, the Revelation 13, 11 through 17, that arises around the same time the sea beast, Revelation 13, 1 through 10, the Antichrist, receives its deadly wound. So the latter part of the 18th century, Antichrist receives its deadly wound. At the same time, this earth beast is rising up to power. Again, slowly but surely, just like the little horn, slowly but surely rises to power. It's very Christ-like. It has 2 horns like a lamb, right? Very Christ-like, but it speaks as a dragon. It would eventually speak as a dragon. And of course, a beast means a world-dominating empire. That's what it means. That's what it meant as far as the beasts of Daniel chapter 7, the Babylonian Empire, world-dominating empire for its day. Simply meaning the biggest kid on the block for its day. Okay? Followed by the Medo-Persian Empire, biggest kid on the block for its day, world-dominating empire. The Grecian Empire, the biggest kid on the block for its day. The Roman Empire, the biggest kid, it's an empire, a dominating, world-dominating empire. Okay? That's what beast means. A beast has nothing to do with a single solitary individual human being like Damien from the movie The Omen. Okay, that's dispensational futurist nonsense. Let's go back and see if we can.
And that prophecy was all literally fulfilled. We believe that has to be literally fulfilled as well. So that's been the basis for what a lot of theologians have called a reunited or revived Roman Empire. So I believe the Bible speaks of a reuniting or reviving of the Roman Empire in the end times.
Lie. It's a lie, Dr. Hitchcock. It never left. The Roman Empire never left completely, never left fully. The 2 legs of iron go into the feet and toes of iron and clay. The 2 legs of iron come to an end in 476 AD. Okay? So the 2 legs of iron, okay, 2 legs of iron, the Roman Empire comes to an end in 476 AD. It goes right into the feet and toes of iron mixed with clay. Iron mixed with clay. That means a remnant of the Roman Empire would always be, has always been here since 476 AD, and until the stone comes and smites. We've been living in the time of the feet and toes of iron mixed with clay since 476 AD. The stone that smites the metal man image on its feet and toes of iron and clay is not representative of the first advent, but of the second advent. The first advent of Christ came at about the kneecaps of the legs of iron. The second advent is represented by the stone that smites the image on its feet and toes of iron and clay. But you can see where dispensational future, this is a complete disconnect from Bible prophecy, right? They insert time gaps all over. So since 476 AD, there's a huge time gap, and then a revived Roman Empire in that 7-year period of Great Tribulation and all that nonsense. Okay? Dispensational futurists do not know how to read Bible prophecy properly, nor do preterists. Preterists are in a complete opposite error, a completely different boat than the dispensational futurists. But this is just one way. Daniel chapter 7, these men are ignorant of it, obviously. But that's all I have for today. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Soli Deo Gloria.